I love this game. I hate this game. Hi everyone, I'm Sam and today I'll be talking about why I think The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is the worst Zelda game that's ever been made. Before I start the video, I would just like to say that these are my opinions. If you like the game, that's brilliant, love it. I don't. So the first reason I don't like the game, and this is quite controversial, is I don't like what the masks do in the game. I don't like playing as a Zora and I don't like playing as a Goron. I'd have much preferred it if you just put the mask on and then you get an ability. Much like in Ocarina of Time where you get the bunny mask and then you go a lot faster. I would have preferred it if that happened rather than just becoming a thing. I find it really annoying and I don't like the way the characters play. The second reason I don't like The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is the world map. I feel it's too cramped for what a Zelda game should do. You've got the central, you've got Termina in the middle and the field around the outside, and then there's basically just four corners that you can go and explore, and it all feels very cramped and you don't get much sense of exploration at all. I don't think anyway. If you think you get exploration, that's fine. I mean, I think you're wrong, but each to their own. Ocarina of Time just felt so vast. Yes, it was quite similar in that there's a field in the middle and then you explore around the outside, but at least you got a sense of travelling somewhere. When you got there, there was a lot more to do. Whereas with Majora's Mask, it feels like, oh, go to this location, do the dungeon, leave. Next location, do the dungeon, leave. There isn't a lot there. I don't like how some of the characters were used in the game. So obviously they used a lot of assets from Ocarina of Time, and because of that, a lot of characters are doing different things. Now, the one thing I cannot stand, and it annoys me, and I don't know why, I don't like how the Zoras are musicians. You go to the place where the Zoras are in the game, and it's all about music, and they're all musicians. I'll insert some footage, but I think it looks really strange, especially after playing Ocarina of Time. It might be different if you played Majora's Mask first, and that's what you're used to, but in Majora's Mask it just feels really strange, and I don't like it. This should have probably been at the end, but it's annoying me and I want to say it. The saving system of the game winds me up. I hate it. I think it's ridiculous that you have to travel back in time and then save at a bird statue, or save at a bird statue and then travel back in time. I can never get it the right way around. That's another thing, it's too complicated, and I just can't get my head around it. When they made the 3DS remake, they should have made it more like Skyward Sword. They should have put more bird statues in, and you can just go, save the game, stop playing. And then when you come back into the game, that's where you are, and it's fine. But no, it's just really complicated. Maybe when it's released on the N64 online service, that might change for me, because obviously you'll be able to create suspend points and then load it from that suspend point. So maybe that'll make it easier for me to play, we'll see. I don't think it will, but I've got my fingers crossed, to be honest, because I want to enjoy the game, I just don't. I've got a problem with going back in time in the game. I know that's a major point of the game, but I've got a big problem with it. I don't like that you lose all your arrows, rupees and bombs when you go back in time, and it doesn't make sense either, because you've got to put the rupees in a bank before you go back in time, and then go back when you travel back in time and get them. I just want to know what the difference is with them being in the bank and being in my back pocket, because as far as I'm concerned, there is no difference. And if by going backwards in time you lose everything you've got, surely going forwards in time you should get double. Wishful thinking. The Bomber's Notebook in the game was there to help you keep track of side quests, and for me, it just made the game too complicated. I couldn't get my head around it. Luckily that was fixed with the this version, the 3DS version, but I don't think it was as useful as it could have been. They could have made it a lot easier to understand. I don't like that you've got 3 days to finish the game and then go back to the first day, lose everything and go again. For me, the whole going back and forth is just too repetitive, and I wish that there was a mod somewhere, there probably is, where the timer just doesn't exist. You can just go through and play the game. That probably doesn't exist actually, because that would completely defy the point of the game and it probably wouldn't work. Never mind. I will say for the game, it's got a good amount of side quests, and I think a lot of Zelda games since then, took a lesson from Majora's Mask and then added a lot of side quests. But with Majora's Mask, they just seem pointless, completely pointless, and they're just there to add filler to the game because it's so small. If this game was to release, I wish it hadn't, but it should have been released on the GameCube rather than on the N64, because it's ridiculous to ask people to buy an expansion pass for their console, not for the game, for the console, to actually put it into the console to be able to play the game. And considering it's a direct sequel from Ocarina of Time, reuse the assets, it's a much smaller game. I don't know what they did, I don't know what's in there on them files, but there's no reason for the game to be that big. A lot of people love the game because it's so wacky and out there and strange, but for me I think that's the reason I hate it. Maybe I'm more of a traditional Zelda player. I don't think I am, because I love Link's Awakening, and that's quite wacky and strange, and I believe it's a direct sequel to A Link to the Past, I think. But with the theme of the moon falling down, all the masks, playing as different characters, for me, the game just doesn't feel like a Zelda game, and it doesn't give me a sense of exploration that I want from a Zelda game. The dungeons, now I know I'm getting into dangerous territory saying that because I love Breath of the Wild, and obviously that didn't have traditional dungeons, but only having 4 really weak dungeons, and I do think they are weak, for me I was really disconnected with the game because of that. And the bosses within those dungeons as well, they just didn't feel as good, as creative, as fun to fight as they did in Ocarina of Time. But the one thing I do love about the game, and I do really like it, is I really like the fact that the theme of the game is really dark. It was kind of the first time that's ever been explored in a Zelda game. It was then explored again in Twilight Princess, and hopefully we'll see it again in Breath of the Wild 2. I just hope Breath of the Wild 2 doesn't fall into the same trap of Majora's Mask, because if it did, and it was a much smaller game, I'm going to be really disappointed. But do you like The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask? Let me know down below. I'd love to know what you think of it. What's your favourite Zelda game? What's your least favourite Zelda game? And please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I shall see you next time. Please don't hate me.